Perfect. So it shows we're live on YouTube and Facebook. Checking before we get started. Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. We're kicking off with our next candidate in our series of candidates for our candidate forums. We've had ADCO and JEFCO. We also have State House and Senate candidates that are with us. I am Juliet Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. My counterpart today is Alberto Garcia. Most of you should know by now that he's our former Mayor Pro Tem, Legacy Award recipient, strategic advisor to the Chamber, pro-business, pro-community, and just is all around a rock star. Thank you for being our timekeeper today, Alberto.
Thank you.
Of course, the way that our forums have worked, they will continue to work in the same manner. Our candidate will share with us a 60-second about who they are in opening statements, and then we'll transition to those rapid-fire questions. Now, if you did not get a chance to send us those questions in advance, you can use the comment section or the feature that is available to you as you're viewing to type in any comments or questions that you might have. If we have time, we'll take those up along the way. We also like compliments as well. So if either of us look great, if we sound nice, we want to hear what that looks like. With that, I will transition and have our senator share a few words about who he is and why he's seeking the position he is.
Wonderful. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Alberto, for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Dominic Moreno. I represent Senate District 21 in Adams County. It includes the communities of Commerce City, Federal Heights, South Westminster, and unincorporated Adams County. Very fortunate that it's the district that I was born and raised in. I went through all the local public schools here, and then was very fortunate, got a great scholarship to go to Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Graduated with a degree in American government and decided, rather than using my education somewhere else, that I would use it at home to benefit my community. And so I ran for city council 6 months after graduating from college over in Commerce City, and was elected as the youngest serving member ever in the city's history at the age of 24. Served there for 3 years, but then really got a passion for the issues discussed in the state legislature and was elected there to the House in 2012 and have been there ever since. And so looking forward to running for another term in the state Senate.
Of course, and I always learn everything new about candidates. I had no idea you were the youngest over in Commerce City. I have Councilor Bowles on here, Brian Dice, Councilor DeMont is on here, Wayne Anderson, and Wayne is also sharing a quick hello. We are now transitioning over to our rapid fire questions. This first one starts with the business community. What business experience do you have? And if elected, how will you draw from that experience to aid in our economic recovery?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, one of the people think that I'm one of those dreaded career politicians, right? Because this was my first job out of college. But for a few years, I did work for Republic Services. They're a trash and recycling company who operates in our community. And so I do have some business experience from that side of things. And how I would use that experience is really to listen to businesses, to see what they need, particularly to survive this really challenging time and implement those policies in the state legislature.
This question is almost shaped specifically for you because of your experience, but how would you address the budget with competing interests?
Oh my God, you're asking me a question that I dream about at night, unfortunately. This is my entire job, is balancing competing interests in the state budget. And it's really a question of values. What do our constituents value? What do Coloradans value? I think the answer to those are education, healthcare, and transportation. And so those are the issues that I fought for in the state legislature and in the state budget.
Who do you most respect from the opposite political party?
This is a great question. A person that I really respect and admire that I actually served with is a former representative, Dan Nordberg from Colorado Springs. We came in as freshmen together. We became fast friends. And it just goes to show that, I think you see a lot of division, but you also can develop relationships with other people on the other side of the aisle. And even though you have different ideas, those pieces where you can agree and develop a friendship is a great thing and something we shouldn't lose in our politics.
So as it relates to the division, and I'm picking up some feedback, I don't know if it's mine only, which is a little bit interesting, but let's see here. Where's that question? We're getting so many that it's like pulling off. Okay, so our county, our state, and even our country is presently divided. Can you give me an example of the time that you had worked together with people of those varying viewpoints to accomplish something positive?
Absolutely. The clearest example, given my service on the Joint Budget Committee, is in developing a balanced budget each year. Right now, the Democrats hold the majority on that Joint Budget Committee, but for my first 2 years of service, it was evenly divided between Republicans and Democrats. You might think that's a recipe for disaster, for stalemate, but every time we were able to work with each other to develop a balanced budget and pass that budget on time. That is something that other states have been unable to do, and even Congress at times has been unable to do.
How do you feel the legislature has handled going back to session during the pandemic?
There's no doubt that going back in the midst of a pandemic has been really challenging, but I do think the legislature has stepped up to the plate to try to meet the needs that people need most get through this really difficult time. So we passed small business relief last session. We passed assistance with rental, paying rent, and with utility bills. That's the type of assistance people need to make it through this difficult.
What is the biggest challenge facing our state?
Honestly, I think the biggest challenge is dealing with this current pandemic, dealing with the effects of COVID-19, because they reach past the health impacts, right, to our community. They've included economic impacts as well, from unfortunately, the economic shutdowns that had to occur in order to keep people safe. And so the big thing, that's the biggest challenge, is putting Colorado back on a road to recovery. But the preliminary signs are looking good that we are getting back on track.
And if elected, what is your top priority?
My top priority is kind of what it's been the last 4 years, to really make sure that we have a strong budget in place, one that invests in critical priorities like housing, like education, like human services, like transportation. Those are all the services that people expect and rely upon from their state government. So my big priority will be to continue that work on the budget and to deliver for Colorado residents.
Many bills were anti-business this last legislative session with no regard for voices of concern. How will you fix this moving forward?
I really appreciate this question, because I think whenever the legislature isn't listening to the constituents that we represent, we need to reassess, and we need to fix that going forward. One of the big issues that this happened on last year was around some tax expenditure policy, and it was moving very quickly. And this year, we're going to be a lot more thoughtful. We're going to develop a system for a lot more feedback and have those conversations with the business community to make sure we don't make the same mistake again.
Do you feel one party holding? Ooh, did you hear that? Do you want to answer this question?
Sure, I can see. Yeah, I can see. Do I feel one party holding is or another is better? You know, I've served in both a split legislature. I've served now in the legislature where Democrats have complete control of both the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And I think, you know, in either case, right? As long as we are listening to our constituents, as long as we are working on their behalf, I think the party control doesn't matter as much. I do appreciate that we develop really comprehensive policies, and that requires listening to all sides.
What has been your biggest achievement?
I'm going to say my biggest achievement is still that first bill I passed when I was elected to the House in 2013, breakfast after the bell, requiring all low-income schools to serve universal breakfast to all kids in the morning. We all know kids learn better when they're well-fed, and now over 80,000 more kids in Colorado have breakfast before they start the school day.
Excellent. Well, at this point, if there are any questions from the audience, we ask you to type this in. Otherwise, we will continue with our rapid fire. I do see Brian Dice, Brian Head, and Oscar Gonzalez. All three of you have kind of hopped on here. Councilor Voles has shared a quick good afternoon to us, and he did go ahead and give us a compliment. Thank you for that. We'll take that. We all look marvelous. Thank you for all you're doing to the Westminster residents. So I just wanted to quickly pull that up for you. So it doesn't look like we have any other comments that are pulling up. And in the interest of time, I do want to be able to allow you to share for 60 seconds a closing statement with folks.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I really have appreciated my time in office and serving our community for over a decade now, which, if you can see, there's some gray hair starting to sprout up. And I'm 35 now, but feel like I'm 65, just given all that I've experienced in elected office to this point. But truly, it's been the honor of my life to serve this community, the one that I grew up in, and to give back, because my success was not my own growing up. People invested in me. And that's what I believe, that I have a responsibility to give back, is to invest in the next generation, to serve our community, to help people through the challenges that they're experiencing. And I feel like I've been able to do that in the state legislature. So I look forward to continuing to serve this community. If you need more information about me, you can go to my website at www.dominicmoreno.com.
Thank you so much, Senator. And everyone that's tuned in is encouraged to share this out to your network so folks understand more about Senator Dominic Moreno, who he is and what he's all about. Of course, feel free to reach out to the candidates. All of the candidates, whether the ones that were on here with us or the ones that have filed against them, were invited to our broadcast. And I do want to emphasize that and thank all of the ones that did accept our invitation and were with us today. Appreciate all that you're doing and your commitment to advocating and responding to these requests from our community members. Alberto, let's stay together as we hop on to the next candidate. And Senator Moreno, thank you for being on here with us. Have a great day.
Thank you, Senator.